In the headlines, the Queen Victoria Memorial Building to be converted into a disaster reconstruction center. A new enterprise development center complements efforts to stimulate local business ventures in the Kainago territory. And Dominica better positioned to develop resilience to natural disasters. I am Andrea Louis with the Channel 5 News details coming up. Thank you for staying with us. First up, Commonwealth Secretary General Dominica Bourne, Baroness Patricia Scotland, says the issue of climate change is high on her agenda. Baroness Scotland was elected to the post of Secretary General of the Commonwealth last year and officially took up her duties on 1st April 2016. On Friday, she made a courtesy call on the Prime Minister as part of her visit to the island.
The existential threat of climate change to small, independent island states in particular is huge. We felt that here in Dominica on the 27th of August, but you know, think about all the other incidents we've had, not just what happened in Dominica with the hurricanes of the past, but what about Ivan? What about the other islands who have been suffering so greatly? How do we respond? How do we make COP21 real, not just a piece of paper? How do we make it the cornerstone of what each and every citizen in the Commonwealth will do to make sure that threat is lessened?
Baroness Scotland says the vulnerability of small states goes hand in hand with global warming.
Because if we look at what happened here in Dominica, which is just an example, because it could have been any of the islands of the Pacific or the Caribbean, we increased our GDP last year by 4.5%. So everyone would have said, look, Dominica's doing well. But what has happened? Within 6 hours, all of that was washed away. 90% of our GDP was impacted. $500 million worth of damage was caused to us. So the reality of what that means to a small state has to be made more visible, and we have to work on these issues.
Baroness Scotland also hopes to tackle the issue of domestic violence.
And I want to do this with great passion, to deal with the elimination of violence against women and domestic violence in particular. Domestic violence is the greatest cause of morbidity in women and girls. It affects 1 in 3 women in our world, and it is causing economic and other damage. In the United Kingdom, it used to cost £23 billion worth of economic damage. We reduced that in the United Kingdom by 7.1 billion and reduced domestic violence by 64%. Can you imagine what our Commonwealth would look like if we did that for all people across the Commonwealth? How better our children would be able to thrive if that happened. So that's a huge issue for me, as is justice, the rule of law, and good governance.
53 countries make up the Commonwealth and account for 1/3 of the world's population. Meantime, the Queen Victoria Memorial Building on Victoria Street is in the process of being converted into the Dominica Disaster Reconstruction Center. This as Baroness Patricia Scotland completed her final task as International Disaster Relief Coordinator for Dominica.
I'm absolutely certain that together we will do something quite extraordinary, which has never been seen before, because we have an opportunity to put together a holistic plan for our whole island. But if we are to succeed, it'll take every single Dominican's commitment. Everyone who has worked on this project so far has done so pro bono. That's without taking 1 penny of their fees. So can I say how proud I am that this will be the last thing that I will do as the International Disaster Relief Coordinator, because today I become the Secretary General of the Commonwealth.
The Baroness led a relief team to the island following the passage of Tropical Storm Erica last year, and several key recommendations were made from this visit, which were accepted and endorsed by the Cabinet.
Our Build Back Better concept encompasses building resilient communities capable of withstanding natural disasters with minimum loss of life and infrastructural damage, putting in place systems which reflect best practice and as a minimum meet national, regional, and international standards, and ensuring that our national strategic recovery plan holistically addresses the critical challenges and opportunities and ensures a coordinated approach that addresses long-term resilience and sustainability.
Barron says the help of the international community is needed in the process of rebuilding the country.
Addressing all of the areas that have suffered devastation and were made extremely vulnerable by the storm is a mammoth task and requires proper coordination. Government has therefore appointed ministerial committees supported by technical committees on infrastructure, resettlement, social services, and private sector to lead the recovery efforts in those areas. The Cabinet has approved the recommendations of the initial scoping mission to supplement this structure with the appointment of a reconstruction project coordinator with overall responsibility for interfacing with the various committees and the general public to assist the coordination of the recovery effort.
Upon completion, the Disaster Reconstruction Center will provide information on reconstruction, resettlement, social services, and the private sector for visiting missions and the public, as well as media updates on reconstruction. The center will also serve as a tourist attraction and provide historical information on Victoria Street. In other top stories, Dominica is now better positioned to develop resilience to natural disasters. This as several government departments will benefit from ICT equipment as part of the government's Disaster Vulnerability Reduction Project, DVRP.
This ICT package is timely and also serves to re-emphasize the government of Dominica's focus on strengthening ICT within its various departments, agencies, and nationally. The government of Dominica, through the DVRP, will continue to serve and do what is required during the project implementation cycle to better equip line ministries and various departments in order to build resilience to the impacts of climate change through the provision of the most appropriate tools and equipment.
13 government departments are to receive this specialized equipment,
namely the Physical Planning Division, Land and Survey Division, Forestry, Wildlife and Parks Division, the Agriculture Division, Public Works Road Surveys Division, Ministry of Public Works, that's the Technical Services, the WASCO, the Environmental Health Department, the Met Services, Ministry of Finance, Office of Disaster Management, Information and Communications Technology Unit, and also the Local Government Department. Following Tropical Storm Eric on August 27, 2015, the need for data which would be collected and analyzed using this specialized equipment became even more relevant, became more apparent in order for the government to advance its efforts to build resilience to climate change. The equipment being handed over today is part of a package of specialized computer equipment hardware, rugged computing devices for field data collection, and managed network switches to the tune of $653,000, which was procured to improve hazard data collection and monitoring systems in Dominica.
The Ministry of Information, Science, Telecommunication and Technology has a key role to play in this project.
That information and communication technology tools can be used in many areas as it relates to building resilience to climate change. Two such tools include the use of geographic information systems, which can assist the government in the identification of flood zones and mapping these areas, measurement of communities' vulnerabilities to flooding, and planning for new flood prevention infrastructure, and many more uses, which can support disaster prevention and recovery. Secondly, the issue of early warning systems. When used with wireless communications, early warning systems can facilitate efficient disaster warning and emergency response, resulting in improved preparedness, reducing the likelihood of loss of lives by forecasting in advance upcoming floods, storms, landslides, and other associated disasters.
Head of the Fire and Ambulance Service, Josiah Dupey, is making a case for additional fire stations and ambulances as a way to improve response time to emergencies.
Apart from the Roseau Fire Station, there are fire stations at Granby, Castle Bruce, Laplaine, St. Joseph, Portsmouth, and the Canefield and Douglas Charles airports. Chief of the Fire and Ambulance Service says the subject of more fire stations is topical to the fire service at this time.
Again, notwithstanding the challenge of cost that would be associated with this, these are things that must be driven by your data. What does your data suggest? So we need to look at population distribution. We need to look at response times. And again, even if we look at the terrain of Dominica and what, in retrospect, would be our inability, rather, to respond within specified international times that are set to get to emergencies, I think the case could well be made for having a few more stations so that we can respond.
Dupey also admits upgrades are necessary at existing stations.
Again, it cannot be improvements that is just done in an ad hoc fashion. It must be something that is studied. You must look at where it is that you are getting most of your responses from. You have to look at what are the trends in terms of development. Do you see expansions in the south? Do you see expansion in the east? What is the kind of infrastructure that needs protection? I'm pretty certain that when a study would be completed, that hopefully the data would be overwhelming, that there would be probably need for improvements in the existing facilities and probably installation of additional stations.
The number of ambulances at the 7 health districts is another factor driving response time to emergencies. Dupey says data indicates it would make sense to have additional ambulances at least at Portsmouth, Marigot, and Roseau.
These are some of the areas that carry the biggest piece of the pie in terms of our ambulance responses. So while we do have units at every health district currently, there is need, we would like to think, again, as we move forward, there is need for having additional units in at least some of those areas.
And trying to overtake an 18-wheeler without a clear view of what's ahead is certainly not a good idea.
Those who had an opportunity to see what could have been a tragic accident on Jimmet Highway Friday walked away with one word on their lips: lucky. The driver of this car was reportedly shaken but was able to walk away unhurt. One eyewitness told Channel 5 News it happened when the driver attempted to overtake the 18-wheeler. From the looks of it, the vehicles ended up so close to each other that the 18-wheeler dragged the other one over 100 feet along the highway until they came to a halt. The vehicle was damaged to some extent, but as we said earlier, the good news is the driver is okay.
Coming up, climate change and what it means for Dominica. More when we come back. Welcome back. Permanent Secretary with the Ministry of Agriculture, Harold Geese, says that climate change poses a great threat to the food security of small islands.
Harold Geese addressed the launch of ICA's Climate Smart Agriculture Regional Competition this week. The goal of that competition was to identify strategies being used to address climate change in the Eastern Caribbean states. Climate change is particularly noticeable in small islands such as Dominica.
The impact and the effects of climate change is most noticeable on small islands. In fact, if you went on the American continent and they wanted to measure sea level rise, you would not be able to see it in a hurry. Temperature gauge for real measurement of climate change impact is small islands like ours. And then, of course, all of us said we don't have far to go to know that Erica dealt us a very serious blow, and that is, in fact, one of the impacts of climate change.
Climate change has the potential to affect livelihoods, food security, and has negative economic and social impact.
Agriculture is dependent on weather conditions. If there is drought, agriculture is not doing very well. If there is ample rainfall, agriculture is doing fairly well. So therefore, it is almost common sense that agriculture would be severely and heavily impacted by the impacts and the effects of climate change. There is a greater and higher incidence of pests and disease. Plants, pests, zoonotics, pathogens, they thrive better in some of these conditions that are created by the climate and the weather. And this impacts our agriculture seriously. And what the technologies available to us, how do we deal with irrigation? How do we deal with energy for agriculture? Because we need energy for maybe pumping water. We need energy, solar energy on our farms for cattle, for chicks, chickens. So risk management becomes another issue.
Dominicans have been called upon to adopt behavioral changes to reverse the effect of climate change.
Labour Commissioner Matthew Leblanc addressed the DAT's 13th biennial conference this week.
Lavanwell doesn't blow before Christmas anymore. These strong winds that blew from the Atlantic Ocean late November and early December don't blow anymore. They blow in January and much further after New Year's and into February. And no longer do we have Kawem when Kawem used to be, and hurricane season and rain season when it used to be. And no longer do all people want to build near to the rivers. No longer do people want to build their houses on the slopes. People seem to be afraid of building or buying land close to the sea. And before that used to be what people hoped for. We don't need to be scientists nor academicians to be aware that there is significant changes happening.
Leblanc says as a small country, Dominica must do all it can to mitigate the impact of global warming.
We as a small nation and a small developing state with very limited natural resources who must adapt to survive in a changing world must change our mindset. When our mindset has been changed, then will the attitude change. And perhaps then we would be able now to contribute positively to the trend in the Caribbean, which can now speak to a change in the attitude and the trend globally. So we have our part to play, and teachers are pivotal in this.
Young people have been inspired to form non-financial cooperatives within their communities. This is on the heels of the 3rd Annual Credit Union Youth Summit organized by the Dominica Cooperative Societies League. The activity, which began on Thursday at the Holy Redeemer Retreat House, ends on Saturday. President of the Cooperative Societies League told the participants that they must begin thinking of initiatives to create employment and develop themselves.
One of the things I believe that as young persons that we can begin to think of is the whole question of non-financial cooperatives. If you have to look like Guyana and quite a number of the other countries to see how they really develop, they develop with the whole question of the cooperative movement, people coming together to do things, to better their own selves and their community and their family and different things. And today it is very challenging for any young person to get a job anywhere in Dominica. So many young persons live in school and they do not really applying for jobs, and it is very difficult. I know that because I have young persons, I have 4 children myself.
Wallace has proposed a community bakery as one of the ideas the youth can consider.
But if, as young persons, you can come together and to begin to think what it is that we can do as young people, to even do some non-financial cooperative, something that will really benefit us, something that will bring about some economic benefits for us. We can begin to reflect on all of the different things and what we could really do to begin to really help ourselves. For the amount of young persons I am seeing in Portsmouth just loitering around, they can maybe think of doing a community bakery. Bread is something that is selling all over the place.
Registrar of Cooperatives Margaret Canaville, who addressed the summit, says non-financial cooperatives are a major driver of the economy.
Cooperatives have worked in other economies, and we're saying with your help as young people, cooperative can work. And how do you begin? You begin at your schools. You begin at your communities. At your school, just start those little clubs. At your school, start a saving unionette. One, it teaches you how to save. It teaches you how to save, and it also helps your parents.
An $89,000 investment in developing enterprises at the rural level moved a step further with the opening of an enterprise center at Siniku earlier this week. Minister for Small Business Enterprise says government is committed to the development of the people despite the setback caused by Tropical Storm Erica.
The fact that we are here today and the extent of investment to the tune of over $89,000, even in the face of post-Erica challenges, indicates to you the importance that this government, my government, places on such initiatives. The Siniku Enterprise Center is a hallmark of efforts aimed at harnessing and developing enterprise activities at the rural level to yield micro and small businesses for increasing employment and generating income for the people.
The minister says several skill areas can be developed through the use of the Enterprise Center.
We will continue to persevere with this initiative to provide all the necessary support and guidance to transform the Siniku Enterprise Center to yield full-fledged small businesses such as garment manufacturing, tour guiding company, and art and craft souvenir shop. And not forgetting the kitchenette, which you can utilize for promoting local cuisine and probably, I hope in the future, packaging the little eats, the little confectionaries that you can produce. This too can become a thriving small business.
The community of Siniku is being seen as a potential hub of activity within the Kalinago territory with the establishment of the Business Enterprise Center.
We are also looking forward to the day when all Dominicans will see the hamlet of Siniku as the first-stop shop in the Kalinago territory, where they will be refreshed with natural fruit drinks, coconut water, as well as to receive a proper orientation for continuing on their journey within the Kalinago territory. The Ministry of Commerce is confident that with this partnership, we will yield much success. Small business development and entrepreneurship is for those who are committed and willing to go all the way and are in it to win.
And the members of the Dominica Social Security had another opportunity on Friday to check the status of their contributions and get an opportunity for a much-needed free health check.
Social Security started having these open days since 2006, I believe, and according to the manager, she told us that quite a number of people really came out today to take advantage of this opportunity to not only check their records to make sure that their records are up to date, but also to take advantage of an opportunity to have a health test as well. Perhaps you want to check your body mass index, check your high blood pressure, and so on. So all in all, it works out for the members of the Social Security. Importantly, they want to ensure that the deductions that are made from people's salaries actually end up at Social Security.
Additionally, the open day gives members the opportunity to interact with staff, register as employers, employees, or self-employed people. The public is also given the opportunity at these open days to renew their Social Security cards and obtain information pertaining to their wages and employment history. That's news. Your sports highlights next with Kenny Williams.
Hello everyone, and here are your sports highlights. First up in sports, after collecting a double victory in the men and women's T20 semi-final Thursday, the Windies teams are now booked for the grand finale on Sunday. The men's team will face England for their final after having defeated India on home ground by 7 wickets. The women defeated New Zealand by 6 runs and will come up against Australia in their round. This is the first time the female team has made it to the finals. Meantime, man of the match in Thursday's semi-final, Lendl Simmons says although his team defeated India, they are not overconfident going into the final.
I think we shouldn't be overconfident. As I say, it's on the day which team plays better. We have to go to Calcutta and analyze the situation of the game when that comes. The conditions would be different, I'm sure. It wouldn't be a perfect batting track like what we got today. From watching the previous games back home. I saw the ball was turning in Calcutta, and that didn't happen today, so I think that played into our hands, so we have to see how it goes on Sunday.
Moving on to football. The Dominica Football Association will kick off its Domlec Women's League this weekend with 2 matches. Gerald George has details.
On Sunday, Dive Dominica Harlem United will take on Bomber Starlights at 3 p.m. at the Benjamin Park in Portsmouth, while at the Newtown playing field it will be New Generation Sports Club versus Maosoka Strikettes at 5 p.m.
Meantime, there were wins for Digicel Newtown Juvenile Academy, Harlem United and Bathurst State Football Club in Thursday's All-Island League.
In the first match of a doubleheader at the Newtown playing field, Harlem United crushed Win George Academy 7-0. Chris McIntyre found the back of the nets twice, with one each coming from Giles Mitchell, Kimon Coffey, Kwame Bell, Michael Pinard and Kimon Maglaw. In the second match, Bathurst State Football Club defeated ACS Tarish United 5-2. Derrickson McDonald registered a hat-trick, with Jomaya Timothy and Conaldo Thomas scoring one each. Delroy Parker got both goals for Tarish United.
The league continues Saturday with one match between East Central Young Boys and Dublin Football Club at the Benjamin's Park at 4 p.m. Still in football, 27 teams stand to benefit from a club licensing meeting put on by the Dominica Football Association on Saturday. The gathering will update teams' club licensing and ascertain the progress they have made towards meeting FIFA and CONCACAF criteria. 2 representatives from each team are expected to be present. In the Premier Division, Bathurst State, Harlem United, Petro Caribbean Point Michelle, Middleham Signman United, RIC Kensborough and Exodus FC. The Division 1 and All-Island Leagues, Icons, All Saints University, Police Sports Club, Potters, Foncolay United, ACS Tarish United, Trafalgar, Canefield, Wayne George Football Academy, Gully Dream Team, Haitian Angels, Dr. Daru All-Stars, Campbell Ballers, Bayon Strikers, Pottersville Youth Soccer Academy, Dominica Secondary School, Buster Warner, Maho Soka Strikers, and St. Joseph. In the Women's League, New Generation Sports Club and Goodwill Runners. The meeting is scheduled for 9:30 at the Football House in Bathurst State. Going back to some cricket, the 2016 Windward Islands Under-15 cricket tournament opened this weekend. On Saturday, Dominica will face Grenada at Benjamin's Park, while over at Windsor Park Sports Stadium, it will be St. Vincent and St. Lucia going head-to-head. Meantime, on Sunday, Grenada and St. Vincent will do battle at Windsor Park. Dominica and St. Lucia will clash at Benjamin's Park. The games are scheduled for 9:30 a.m. On the basketball scene, the 2016 Flow Dominica Amateur Basketball Association's National League will press play this weekend with 4 games at 2 venues. On Saturday, Fashion Line Falcons will play Kyrie FM Old School from 7, followed by Elijah Law Chambers Thunderers versus Signman X-Men at 9. Those games are carded for Massac. Meantime, on Sunday, Paybush Snipers will do battle with United Insurance Sharks at 6. Jay's Limited Sonics and D-Tread Blazers will go head-to-head from 8. Both games are expected to be played in Portsmouth. In netball, the Big Edge Financial Express League continues this weekend with 5 exciting matches on the cards. On Saturday, Sparks and Portsmouth Breakers will do their thing from 3. Then at 4:30, Cocoa Town Cafe Portsmouth Secondary School and New India Assurance Celtic will take to the court. Both games are carded for the Dominica Grammar School hard court. Meanwhile, on Sunday, Wesley and Jazz will go head-to-head in Wesley, while over at Portsmouth, Sparks and Northern Contractors Limited Portsmouth Secondary School will meet up for play. Both games are down for 3 p.m. And at 4:30, Portsmouth Breakers and Cocoa Town Cafe Portsmouth Secondary School will do their stuff at home on their home turf. Still in netball, head coach of Dominica's Under-16 team, Jennifer Nanton, believes a revised strategy will help her team improve its performance. Her comments come ahead of the Caribbean Netball Association's Jean-Pierre Under-16 tournament carded for Barbados.
We are going to take each game one at a time, and if we take each quarter, quarter by quarter, then we win the game.
Nanton says the team members bring their individual strengths to the table, and collectively they will be a great contender in the competition.
We don't have to fear any team. We are going to take each game one at a time, and if we take each quarter, quarter by quarter, then we win the game. I'm quite confident we can do well. We can do well because we have the last year's best shooter against Langley. And we have 8 of the players of last year and 4 new players.
Dominica will face St. Lucia in their opening game on Saturday. The national team placed second in last year's competition. Other participating countries are Antigua, Jamaica, Trinidad and Tobago, Bermuda, and last year's champion Barbados. That's all the sports for now. I am Kenny Williams. Join us again next time.
Your weather report is next.
Hello, good evening. Welcome to tonight's weather broadcast. I will be your presenter for this evening, Farah Rock Korea. Today, a trough system was a dominant feature which produced multi-layered clouds across the area. If we take a look now at some earlier visible satellite imagery, it shows the clouds associated with this trough system across the southern portion of the islands and also across the leewards. We take a look now at some earlier radar imagery of this afternoon, and what it indicated was scattered shower activity across the central portion of Lesser Antilles, with some scattered showers to the east of Dominica expected to affect us later this evening into tonight. The weather tonight is expected to be partly cloudy to cloudy with scattered showers. Similar conditions are anticipated for tomorrow. The marine conditions will be moderate and waves are expected to be up to 7 feet. Small craft operators and sea beavers, please do exercise caution. Let's take a look now at the weather for the weekend. Tomorrow, Saturday, partly cloudy to cloudy with some scattered showers. Residents in areas are prone to flooding, landslides, and fallen rocks. Please do continue to exercise caution. The weather for Sunday, partly cloudy to cloudy with scattered showers, mainly during the early morning period, and a general improvement is expected. Monday, partly cloudy skies with widely scattered showers are expected. The weather for the rest of the Caribbean tomorrow. Weak and stable conditions will continue to produce occasional cloudy skies with some scattered showers across most of the Lesser Antilles tomorrow. On the international scene, partly cloudy skies with some scattered showers expected for New York and London. Fair to partly cloudy skies for Miami, Caracas, and Beijing. The sun will rise tomorrow at 5:59 a.m. and will set at 6:18 p.m. Feel free to visit our website at weather.gov.dm or call the weather hotline at 447-5555. Join us the next time for your next weather broadcast. Thank you.
To end the news, the headlines again. The Queen Victoria Memorial Building to be converted into a disaster reconstruction center. A new enterprise development center complements efforts to stimulate local business ventures in the Kainago territory. And Dominica better positioned to develop resilience to natural disasters. Feel free to contact us at news@marpin2k4.com. You can also watch our past newscasts on our YouTube page. On behalf of the entire production team, I am Andrea Lee, and to all our viewers around the world, thank you so much for watching. Have a wonderful weekend.